Happy Father's Day to everyone. I don't know what emotions spring up on a day like today. I know that Father's Day can be a joyous day if you've got young children, because you think, yes, today's the day that I can actually have a day off or a rest day, and it might spark joy in you. But Father's Day can bring a whole host of emotion. And today we want to celebrate dads. We want to celebrate fatherhood because we believe it's important, and we'll look at that really quickly in just a moment. But we want to stand with people that are mourning the loss of dads, or mourning the dad that they never actually had, or the dad that they wished they had. See, Father's Day can be incredibly happy, but it can be incredibly hard as well, because so much hurt can be caused by bad fathering or bad parenting. Because having a father is important. And we're going to look this morning just really quickly at the father that God chose to be his son's dad. So when God said, well, I'm going to send my son Jesus to earth, because there was a purpose in that, so that he could come and he could pay for our sins. We've sung about the blood of Jesus, and actually that means that actually his death on the cross meant that we could be free, that we could go no life. But he had to send his son to earth as a newborn baby. We've recently had to be, and I don't know the technical words for it, and I'm sure I'll get it wrong. We've had to write out our will, and we've had to decide if something was to happen to us, who would get our children. And so we've sat down and we've thought about who we do not like, because we could curse them with our beautiful, blessed children. But we've had to sit down and we think, and so we've started with different people and thought, no, I don't really like the way that they do that, or, oh, I'm not sure about them. Because actually choosing someone else to look after your children, to have your children, it's hard. It's incredibly difficult, because parenthood is hard. And choosing a dad for your child is hard. But God chose a man on earth to be his son's dad. And his name was Joseph. Now, there's not much that's known about Joseph. There's not incredible stories about him. And possibly he wasn't the most interesting or known person. Maybe he was a bit of a boring dad. And if you ask my children, they will say, I am a boring dad. And they're probably right. I'm not that interesting. I'm not that exciting. I don't have any amazing hobbies. I'm just a boring dad. And maybe Joseph was a bit of a boring dad as well. But God chose him to be his son's dad. And so I feel like there's some lessons that we can learn from his life this morning, because if he's the one that God chose, knowing all things, there's got to be something good in his life. Because I think Mary, Joseph's mum, gets a lot of emphasis. Oh, yeah, look at Mary. But he wouldn't have chosen Mary if the dad was wrong. Because parenting is important. Fatherhood is important. And so whether you're a dad today, whether you're not a dad today, whether you want to have children, whether you never want to have children, maybe in parenting is a bit of a touchy subject, and it's a hard subject for you today. Well, we can all still learn something from the life of Joseph, because here is a man that God chose to have great influence over his son. And so we're going to look a little bit at his life. So again, we don't know much about him. We can guess that Joseph was about 18 years old at the time that we kind of first meet him, when he finds out that his fiancée, Mary, is pregnant with a child that is not his. So he's about 18 years old, and the fact that he was going to get married, the fact that he was betrothed, means that he was already established in life. He wouldn't have been able to get married if he hadn't have proved to families that he would be able to provide for his new bride. And so he was already working, he was already making money, and it says in the Bible that he was a carpenter. And so that could have been woodwork, but it's more likely that he was a stonemason or a builder. So he was handy. He was respected by those in the community, but also because builders were in that day. I'm not saying builders aren't respected now if you're a builder, or a stonemason. But it also meant he would have traveled a little bit, because that's again what kind of carpenters did. They would travel a little bit and be here and not there. So that's Joseph, and that's pretty much all that we know about his life. Not that interesting, not that well known, but chosen by God to be the father to his son. And so maybe you're a dad this morning, you think, I'm not that interesting, I'm a bit boring, maybe my kids could have a better parent than me. Hey, well, you can put yourself on the same level of Joseph and know that actually God can still use you, be with you, and cause great things to happen because of what he has put in you. I want to say today, when we look at the life of Joseph, there's not amazing stories about what he did, but we do know about who he was. You see, who you are is far more important than what you do. I'll repeat that. Who you are is more important than what you do. See, we all worry about what to do, but I don't think that's God's primary concern. We all want to get stuff accomplished. The summer is on its way, and every summer I think, right, this is going to be the summer that I am going to achieve so much. In church, every summer, I'm like, right, this is going to be the summer that I review all of the policies and write the ones that I've been meaning to write for 5 years. I think this is going to be the summer that we're finally going to paint the walls again. This is going to be the summer that we're going to clean the carpet. This is going to be the summer that we do a deep clean. This is going to be the summer where we get really ahead and plan the next 2 years of what we're doing. Do you know what happens every summer? None of that stuff. See, because that's what I want to do, and I want to accomplish, and I want to do this, I want to do that. But sometimes we've just got to take a step back and say, let's not concentrate on what I want to get done, but let's look at who I can become. Who I can become. And just 4 quick things today that we can see that Joseph was. Number 1, he was a listener. Joseph was a listener. We're told in the Bible on 3 separate occasions that an angel visited Joseph in a dream, in 3 different dreams, to give him direction. I can never remember any of my dreams. I don't think I do dream, but apparently we all dream, which just means I can't remember anything, which, to be honest, matches up with my life, because I can't remember much in life anyway. But Joseph listened to the angel in those dreams. He was open to God speaking to him. Not closed, but ready. See, if an angel came to me in the middle of the night and spoke to me in a dream and said, Marcus, I want you to do this. And what he was asking Joseph to do was hard. He was asking Joseph to put his reputation, not really on the line, but to throw his reputation away. There wasn't a risk of this could go either way. Joseph would have had a lot of people talking about him because he decided to marry Mary and raise a child that was not his. It wasn't which way is it going to go? Joseph heard God speak to him in this dream. If that was me, when I wake up in the morning, here's what you can do after a dream is you can turn back over and quickly forget about it and say, hey, that was just a dream. That was just a dream. And turn back over and ignore it. But Joseph listened to the voice of God. He listened again when he knew that actually people were coming to get his son. He listened again when it was time to leave Egypt and return home because he was a listener. He was a listener. He could have he would have been stressed out because he knew that Mary was pregnant. And even if it was his child, for me, that's a stressful situation. Whenever Sean's told me, she's pregnant, I've not spoken for about 4 days after that because I'm still in shock. To be honest, I'm still in shock now. He would have had different voices telling him what to do. Maybe his dad and his mum got round him and said, Joseph, we're sorry that we betrothed you to that woman, but you're free now. You don't have to marry her. Maybe his friends got round him and said, Joseph, leave her. You're fine. You can do away with her. There's other women. Look at Martha. She's good looking too. But Joseph tuned in to the voice of God because he was a listener. He was a listener. Can we be people that tune in to the voice of God? Joseph was faithful. He did what God asked him to do. Again, come back to those dreams. If God spoke to me in a dream, I would need another 5 signs after that to confirm it. I'd have said, that's nice, but that could have just been the cheese I ate last night, God. But Joseph was faithful to what God asked him to do and faithful to the promises that he had already made to Mary. You know, sometimes in life, curveballs will be thrown into what you were planning to do and the life you were planning to have, or the way that you were planning your children's life to go. And sometimes things happen and it throws that off track. And we can go with that, or we can say, no, I'm going to remain faithful to what God has called me to. Joseph, he was a listener, but he was faithful. He remained faithful to God, and he remained faithful to his wife, and he remained faithful to his calling. Not distracted, but he kept on going. And he said, this son that isn't mine, I'm going to raise him as my own. And so not only was he faithful in taking him on, but he went further, because when it says in the Bible, and it says, and Joseph named him Jesus, that was in some way, in the way that it was, that only the Father would name the Son. And so as Joseph in that moment names his son Jesus, he's saying, he is mine. And actually all legal rights I now pass on to him as my firstborn. And it's interesting, isn't it, that it wasn't just some other child, it wasn't some second, but actually Joseph made Jesus his own. Joseph and Mary went on and they had, we know, at least 6 other children, 4 boys, at least 2 other girls. But Jesus became his because he was faithful to what God had asked him to do. Can we be listeners? Can we be people that are faithful even when life is hard? Joseph was kind. He didn't divorce Mary. He didn't abandon her. In fact, he protected her. Says, actually, in his first thoughts before kind of a divorce, before the angel came to him, he said, I'm gonna, I could divorce her quietly. See, he was still kind, even before God had spoken to him and told him what to do, because kindness was in his nature. And he wasn't out for kind of his getting owned back. He wasn't out for just casting her to one side. He wasn't out to say, actually, I want to protect my name first and forget about her. Because he was kind. He was kind. He didn't divorce her, and he made Jesus his own son. I don't know what his emotions were, because it doesn't record in the Bible when his second son came along, the one that was his. But he had already made the decision that Jesus was his firstborn. And now, all of our children are kind of equal in society, maybe. Maybe we have favorites, I don't know. But the fact is, back in that civilization, back in that day, the firstborn had more rights than the others. But Joseph had already decided to do what was right and to make Jesus his firstborn because he was a kind man. And finally, Joseph was patient. He was patient. It says that Joseph decided he was going to marry Mary, and he married her. But it says this, that he didn't consummate the marriage until after Jesus was born. So let's just be real, he was a man, and he probably wanted to do certain things with his new bride. But he waited. He waited because he was a patient man. Having 6 children, we know, at least 6 children, he was patient. He taught his children his craft because he was a patient man. And even as some nice music going on there, even when life got hard, we know that Joseph was patient. So I want to just put you, there's loads more that we could pull out of who Joseph was this morning. But there's nothing really recorded about what he did. But we can see who he was. And so this Father's Day, whether you're a dad, whether you're a mum, whether you're a child, whoever you are, I want you just to take a moment to think about who you can be rather than what you can do. This day, what can you be rather than what you can do? And it's hard because attacks will come. What day are we on today? Sunday. That's why we're in church together. On Friday, I had some time off, and so I thought, right, I'm going to go for a run. And we're doing, a few lads are doing the Free Peaks Challenge, the Yorkshire Free Peaks in a few weeks' time, and it's like 25 miles. So I thought, right, I need to get some training in for this because no way I'm being the weakest one on the team. And so I thought, all right, I'm going to go for a run. And I enjoy running every so often, but I knew I needed to get the steps in. So I set myself a little route, and it's not, for some of you, it won't be impressive, but it was a few more miles than I've done for a while. And so I got myself ready, and I planned the route in that basically I was running out so that there was no turning back. Like once I was once I was halfway there was no quick route back. I had to keep going. But about 15k in, I was done. Like, it was a hot day on Friday, wasn't it? It was hot, but I had to continue. Do you know what kept me going? Is other people. Thankfully, there were loads of groups out on Friday. It must have been doing DofE, the Duke of Edinburgh Award. And I would see a group and my pace would pick back up. And I thought, they can't see me struggling. I would see someone in the distance, and I'm like, oh, I've got to keep going. And thankfully, the final part of the run was along a main road. And so I kept on going because I thought, I don't want anyone else to see me weak. And maybe that's not always right, but hey, you know the best way to make sure that you're the who over the do is to be around other people. Don't hide. Don't retreat. But get yourself around other people and say, hey, this is who I believe God is calling me to be. Will you help me with that? I love that God chose Joseph to be his dad's son. No one of significance, not royalty, no one amazing. Just a man who listened, was faithful, was kind, and was patient. God, I pray that whoever we are, we would be the people that you called us to be. That we would know who you want us to be. And that would be of such importance to us. That we would run, Lord God, to become the best whos you want us to be. Let the do's come, Lord, but only out of who you want us to be. So in hard times, Lord, let us remember who you called us to be. I pray. Amen.